Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's digital dialogue on From Local to Global, aligning Indian medical manufacturing with international standards. As India rapidly emerges as a global hub for medical device manufacturing, it is critical to understand the steps required to meet international standards. Today, we delve into the growth of medical devices manufacturing in India, the government's vision for medtech zones, and how we can align our practices with international standards to enhance global competitiveness. We are honored to have a distinguished panel of speakers with us today who will share their expertise and insights on these important topics. So let's welcome Dr. Jitendra Sharma, Managing Director and Founder CEO of Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone. That is, then we are joined by Mr. Rajiv Nath, who is the Managing Director, Hindustan Syringes and Medical Devices Limited, and Forum Coordinator of Association of Indian Medical Device Industry, that is AIMED, and of course, Mr. Manoj K. Sundaram, who is the Head Business Development at Zeiss, India. So now to take the session forward, I will invite Dr. Jitendra Sharma. So Dr. Sharma will share his perspective on AMTZ's role in elevating Indian medical manufacturing to meet international standards. Welcome, Dr. Sharma.
India's history of medical technology is actually two parts. Part one, led for some product segments by a handful of wonderful people. And part two, global multinationals who came to India bringing in technology to capture the consumer base, but with state of the art medical equipment. Which means two things. One, given that our leadership of certain key product segments and a hospital needs more than 2,300 categories of medical devices. Since all of this cannot be catered to by the handful of business leaders that we had in this segment, and the foreign multinationals who brought in the technology brought in for highly specialized product segment, we were left with a vacuum as a market and as a country. So there was a gap. That was the time when AMTZ was created in 2018 to fill in this gap as a consolidated place of production of multiple categories of medical devices. Except for the fact that it has been created, developed, and progressed, support, collaboration, and partnership of leaders like Mr. Rajiv Nath, Indian Medical Device Manufacturing Association, and large number of similar business houses. So AMTZ came in as a cluster, first organized cluster for medical technology, which brought in investors, producers, startups, laboratories, validation centers, logistics and customs clearance houses, testing centers, World Trade Center, WHO Center, hostel, hotel, hospital, animal lab, school, university, all in medical technology in one campus, ensuring that our path to the medical technology development and production is structured and complementary to each other. If there is one place in the world today to have this entire gamut of services, infrastructure, modalities to help Indian-made medical devices be produced on global standards to access both national market to improve affordability and international market to improve accessibility. How do we and where do we move from here? I think there are three very, very simple steps. These simple steps require complex hard work. In themselves, they are very simple steps. One is to have all Indian and multinational companies operating out of India agree on a certain mutually equivalent certification systems. So just like the Global Harmonization Task Force internationally did this job for the countries, asking all of them to come on the same platform to accept a common quality system, I think of various states, various industry bodies must come together on one platform pen down a set of certification systems, whether it is ISO, whether it is ICMed, a set of certification system that are not anti to each other, that are similar to each other, if not the same, and agree on those common systems, any of them. The second is that large number of FTAs and bilateral trade agreements and everything is getting signed. They require due diligence and a thorough traceability of their origin, thorough traceability to avoid not that the governments who are signing do not have right intentions. Of course, they have the right intentions. But there might be people and bodies and regions that might take undue advantage of this right intention. In fact, apart from trade agreements between the country, there might also be mutually accepted agreements by the industry associations between the various countries. So US IBC or Australia India Business Council or IMED can actually sign an agreement on acceptance of quality standards that these bodies can take up with their respective government. So I think there is a space to chalk out the quality paragraphs of these agreements. And if they can't be part of the governmental agreements, industry body agreements can sign these as mutually acceptable. And the third simple step is creating a huge number of auditors. I think right qualified auditor with right training, with certain number of credit hours and inspection hours is a dire need of the country. My fear is the way country is growing, country's economy is booming, and the medical technology sector is accelerating. My fear is paucity of our own auditors in our own country might become a barrier. Creating a huge human resource capacity of audit is my third suggestion. So with these three, I think we have very wise panelists. Happy to listen to them. But these are my three views and the update on AMTZ with which I want to close my remark. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and happy to be here. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for that insightful opening note on AMTZ's role in enhancing Indian medical manufacturing to align with international standards, as you say. So our next speaker is Mr. Rajiv Nath. He will share his perspective on medical plastic syringes and consumable manufacturing. Welcome, Mr. Nath.
In the medical device policy announced by the government last year, it was decided to keep the vision for India to be the leading manufacturing global hub. This is something to portray as to what quality is all about in terms of standards and the role played by standards. So regulations typically, because of political reasons, have the bare minimum standards to meet patient safety requirements or any regulatory requirement, whether it is the need not necessarily be only for quality, but can also be for other requirements, whether it is for the worker safety, occupation safety, etc. And then you've got voluntary quality standards done by ISO or BIS or by associations or by buying organizations who define what should be the quality required in terms of procurement or in terms of manufacturing as a mutually acceptable buying specification or buying standard. And then third, you've got the brand's quality, which can be much more higher than the bare minimum regulatory standard or the voluntary quality standard defined by the country or by the international body. Now, in terms of the global scenario, what have we seen? We've seen that in the last 40 years in manufacturing, when we introduced manufacturing, when I joined the company, we used to be having a quality control manager. From quality control, we moved forward to quality assurance. And in terms of meeting patient safety issues, in terms of regulatory requirements, we introduced essential principles on patient safety, which were about 13 of them, and which are now also part of the Indian medical device rule book now. Now, globally, the Europeans who had initially introduced the essential principles on patient safety in the European MDD. They graduated in the new EU MDR to general safety and performance requirements, which are much more stringent, more detailed, and more demanding than what was in the essential principles requirements earlier on. Also, quality needs to be measured so that you know as an entrepreneur what is the level of quality you're achieving and what can be the level of defects that can be entering into the market. So, like Dr. Sharma mentioned, we created the Indian Certification of Medical Devices. Now, one of the reasons why this was created was when we manufacturers have to export globally, how do we prove that we are making it to global standards? India has got products where we can demonstrate we got ISI mark and make to BIS standards. But is that enough? Many times we find it is not being enough because internationally BIS standard is not recognized. So India also created the Z certification, the Prime Minister's dream of zero effect, zero defect. In Z certification, again, you've got various categories. You've got a very simple category for entry, which they've diluted now, which can easily be got by most MSME companies. And Z certification is only allowed for MSME companies. It's not permissible for large companies to access that. So the MSME companies can enter at bronze level, graduate to silver level, graduate to gold level, or immediately qualify directly for silver or gold level. When it's silver or gold, you've got more parameters and more in-depth requirements which you need to be complying with. And these are not necessarily leading only to quality. Many of them, like in the gold category, they also lead to requirements for compliance to the ESG category. The cost of certification may not be much, say hardly ₹1,00,000. And if you're MSME, again, you can get subsidies for achieving that. And once you got a certification, various state governments in India, they do incentivize various ways to give you the advantage of having get that certification, for example, in Haryana. But the Z certification, again, was not being enough. So if I am making the product, say to disposable syringes making to ISO 7886 Part 1 standard, or needles being made to a ISO standard, how do I prove that I'm making it to that standard? Just the manufacturer's test laboratory claim may not be enough. So when you have an IAC Med 1345 or an IC Med 1345 plus standard, you can demonstrate that not only a manufacturing system, but also the product is in compliance with the global ISO standard. So we can seek to have IC Med 1345 plus, for example, for a syringe to comply to ISO 7886 Part 1 standard, or for auto-disable syringe to comply to an ISO 7886 Part 3 standard, for example. BIS does not give that possibility. ICMEDS provides that possibility. And with that possibility, it can be accepted internationally because the ICMED certification comes in from NABC, which is part of the IF system. Now, the ISO 13485 certification given by any CAB in India, graded by NABCB, already has the advantage because there is a MRA between NABCB and IF system by which any certification body in India accredited by NABCB, which issues a certificate by for ISO 13485 gets recognized internationally. Now, the next step, we are seeking the same thing for ICMED certification. And with this, we hope that manufacturing in India can be accelerated and we can become more globally competitive. The first thing is to have competence. Second is to demonstrate competence. And third is to win the confidence of the overseas buyer. Thank you all.
Very well said, sir. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation and your recommendations on how medical device industry can reach new heights in global markets was truly enlightening. So our next speaker is Mr. Manoj K. Sundaram. Mr. Manoj leads the product groups for the Industrial Quality Solutions division at Zeiss, India. So today he will be sharing his insights on the importance of quality and metrology for achieving the highest medical standards.
Zeiss is into various fields, and Dr. Jitendra also mentioned that we were one among the initial medical industry players who came into India. So yes, we are into primarily into ophthalmology. You will find a lot of our devices in the in the ophthalmology industries in famous hospitals. We are also into biological sciences, pharma industries, and also in cataract surgery, brain surgery, and so on. So I'm coming from a vertical which is going to support medical device manufacturing. So that is point number one. So I'll talk about a little bit how we can, how how we can support your manufacturing process. Be it plastic, whether you're making plastic medical devices, consumables, and so on, or you make ortho or additive topics. How you shape it, how you process it, how you finish it. In all these areas, we'll be able to support you with our solutions. We are into manufacturing of the products, tools, whatever you manufacture. We will measure the shape. So that is the context I'm trying to set, so that we don't miss out and you expect something. So we will support shape measurements, and a little bit on the material topics we'll be able to support you. This is what we do in the quality control of any manufacturing company. And just trying to use some of the terminologies what Dr. Jitendra wonderfully spelled out: accreditation, certification, validation, and so on. We basically use our tools to validate your parts, what you produce, using certified gauges which are traceable to national or international laboratories and which are accredited. So we use accredited laboratory certificates which give the traceable gauges. They are used by us in our machines to qualify your product. Okay, so what do we qualify? We qualify the product to the part dimensions which you see on the screen. We work in physical length measurements like GD&T, geometrical dimensions, and so on. So having set the context, I just want to, this is just one more line to tell you that there is a design, there is a drawing, and there is a manufacturing process, and then comes our quality control and quality assurance processes. So we are part of this. Just since it's a very short call, I just want to jump into a short video and show you that if you are an implant manufacturer, how would you measure this implant? Assume you have made this implant and you want to ship 100 parts for a huge order to US. So this have been defined in all the standards which have been mentioned. And then what we do is, the femoral part, which is going to really do the function, cannot be touched. If you touch, whether you touch it with a soft cloth, whether you touch it with a soft force, you definitely scratch the surface. This is physics. So in this case, as you can see, you are now having a probe which is not touching the part, but which is staying away. So we use a mode of measurement called a light-based measurement. Then the software would collect all the dimensions of the part, and finally it would qualify and tell you whether the part is qualified, and subsequently the lot, the 100 parts what you manufactured is fit enough to be shipped or not. We can measure dental implants, shoulder implants, metals, spinal cords, hip implants where you can have ceramic topics, knee implants, again you may have different materials there, trauma on extremities. So if you manufacture any of this, we can provide you a solution for the dimensional measurement. So there are various questions in the mind of Indian manufacturers when they look forward to exporting as to how I will qualify if I ship to US or Europe where the standards are very strict, and how will I be able to ensure the dimensional complexity. So right from raw material, we can support you. We have something called metallography, which is also used in the pharma industry, let's say for the raw material qualification, which we can do. Then you have the raw parts, which can be qualified for certain dimensions using different equipments. Then we process it and look for, then finally, if you have made the part, you have something called the part has to be really clean. So that has to be seen. So at various stages, you have different requirements, and finally, you need the visual inspection. Okay. With this, we have a lot of equipments. Let me show you a few examples to give you an idea. So putting it in slots here: material properties, visual inspections, form, location, contours. These are the topics what we will support you with. Some more examples of medical implants which can be done next to the shop floor. I will show you a list of companies which use ours. Finally, you have made a good part, but when you have to ship it, there is a requirement of technical cleanliness which comes in. The part has to be really dirt free, germ free, and so on. So this is a very big topic which is coming up, and there are standards which have been established in the industry. Our software and our hardware complies to all these standards, and we will be able to, which are called the VDA compliance. So we have a microscope along with a software with which we can identify the contaminant, extract it, and tell you whether the contaminant is metal, non-metal, fiber, or coming from your AC, coming from your cardboard, and so on, from your production process or from your environment. We can do that. This was about the metal. Now we'll come to plastic. See, plastic also has plastic parts, medical devices with the electronics. They all do have their complexities. So if you are into this topic, we have again raw material of the granulated plastic, which can be quality controlled by us. Then your injection molding process, the dyes and molds and the plastic, both can be attended. The contamination can be checked, and finally inspection of the assembled insulin pen or the assembled syringe can be taken up very quickly. Like Dr. Jitendra said, when the French people walked in, they were super impressed with the facilities. But your parts also need to impress the people on the other side of the world. So that is possible when you use the highest level of quality control, quality assurance devices which are available. And most of these devices, what I showed you, you do not have to buy it right away. We have quality excellence centers in Chennai, Bangalore, Coimbatore, Delhi, and everywhere. Most of the devices are available. You can walk in, get your parts measured, assure yourself, and then plan for purchase. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Manoj, for sharing your valuable insights on the importance of quality and metrology in achieving the highest medical standards. So as this session draws to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to each one of you for joining us today. Thank you so much, Rajiv, Nath sir. Thank you so much, Manoj. Thanks a lot to Dr. Jitendra Sharma sir. So we hope you have enjoyed this episode of Mojo for Industry Presents Digital Dialogue on From Local to Global, aligning Indian medical manufacturing with international standards.
Hello friends. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content.